Chicago. The year is 1925. On the surface, this is one of the most powerful industrial cities in the world. Factories roar along the river. Railroads deliver goods from across the country. Millions of people crowd the streets. But when night falls, Chicago becomes something else entirely. Behind ordinary storefronts, behind quiet apartment doors, hidden staircases lead to rooms filled with music, smoke, and illegal alcohol. Speakeasies, hundreds of them. Because in America during the 1920s, alcohol is illegal. But in Chicago, that law means almost nothing. Bootleggers move whiskey through the city every night. Police officers accept bribes. Gangsters control entire neighborhoods. And by 1925, Chicago is no longer just a city. It is a battlefield. A war between powerful criminal organizations. A war fought with money, with corruption, and with machine guns. In the 1920s, Chicago stands as one of the most powerful industrial cities in the world. By 1925, more than 3 million people live in the city, making it one of the largest urban centers in the United States. Smoke rises constantly from factory chimneys as industries run day and night. Steel mills roar with heat and noise. Meatpacking plants process thousands of animals every day. Railroad yards stretch for miles, connecting Chicago to nearly every corner of the country. Freight trains arrive loaded with grain from the Midwest, coal from Appalachia, and manufactured goods from the East. Ships move through the Great Lakes, carrying cargo between Chicago and other major ports. The city has become a massive engine of commerce and production. Entire neighborhoods grow around these industries. Workers leave their homes early each morning, walking toward factories carrying lunch pails and tools. Immigrants from across Europe fill crowded districts, bringing languages, traditions, and cultures from dozens of countries. Chicago feels restless and energetic, a place where fortunes can be built quickly. But rapid growth also creates opportunity for another kind of industry, the illegal kind. In January 1920, a dramatic change sweeps across the United States. A new national law comes into effect, the Prohibition of alcohol. The government bans the production, sale, and transportation of alcoholic drinks across the entire country. Supporters of the law believe it will transform American society. For decades, temperance movements had argued that alcohol was responsible for many social problems: poverty, domestic violence, crime, and workplace accidents. Many politicians promised that banning alcohol would create a healthier and more orderly nation. Factories would become more productive, families would become more stable, cities would become safer. But the reality unfolds very differently. Because millions of Americans have no intention of giving up alcohol. Bars may close officially. Breweries may shut down. But the demand for liquor does not disappear. Instead, drinking moves underground. Illegal distilleries begin operating in secret. Smugglers start transporting whiskey across state lines and even across national borders. Canadian alcohol flows south into the United States. Small-time criminals quickly realize that alcohol has become one of the most profitable illegal products in the country. And nowhere does this opportunity grow faster than in Chicago. The city's location makes it ideal for bootlegging. Railroads connect Chicago to nearly every major American region. The Great Lakes provide access to international smuggling routes. And the massive population guarantees millions of potential customers. Within only a few years, an enormous underground economy begins forming. Illegal breweries appear in warehouses. Hidden bars open behind ordinary storefronts. And criminal organizations begin organizing the transportation and protection of alcohol shipments. What was once a legal industry now becomes a black market worth millions. And that money attracts powerful gangs ready to fight for control. By the mid-1920s, Chicago is filled with secret bars. Speakeasies hide everywhere, behind barbershops, inside restaurants, below apartment buildings. From the outside, they look ordinary, but inside, they are crowded with music, dancing, and alcohol. Jazz bands perform late into the night. Bartenders pour whiskey imported from Canada. Customers include factory workers, politicians, and wealthy businessmen. Even some police officers. The city develops an entire underground nightlife. But every bottle sold in those bars has to come from somewhere, and transporting that alcohol requires protection. Protection provided by gangs. As Prohibition takes hold across the United States, Chicago begins to change in ways few people expected. The sudden ban on alcohol does not eliminate demand. Instead, it creates a massive underground market worth millions of dollars every year. And wherever that kind of money appears, organized crime quickly follows. Small street gangs that once focused on gambling, petty theft, and protection rackets begin transforming into powerful criminal organizations. They start building networks, supply routes for alcohol, warehouses to store illegal shipments, secret breweries hidden in basements, and industrial buildings, speakeasies that operate under their protection. Soon, entire neighborhoods of Chicago fall under the influence of different gangs. Each group controls its territory carefully. They decide which bars can operate, which trucks can move through the streets, who is allowed to sell alcohol and who is not. Among the most powerful rising figures in this new criminal world is Al Capone. Capone arrives in Chicago as a young gangster, but quickly proves to be both ambitious and ruthless. Under his leadership, organized crime becomes more structured. Operations become larger. Profits grow enormous. But Capone's organization is only one part of a much larger network of gangs competing for control of the city. Italian gangs, Irish gangs, Jewish gangs. Each group builds its own alliances and territories, and because the profits from bootlegging are so enormous, none of them are willing to step aside. Tension begins to rise. Arguments between gangs escalate into threats. Threats become ambushes. And by the middle of the 1920s, Chicago is no longer simply a city with crime. It is a city divided between powerful criminal empires, each preparing for the conflicts that are about to erupt in the streets. One of the main reasons Chicago's gangs grow so powerful during the 1920s is not just violence, it is corruption. The illegal alcohol trade is incredibly profitable. Every shipment of whiskey, every hidden brewery, every crowded speakeasy generates huge amounts of money. And some of that money does not stay within the criminal organizations. It begins to flow outward. Bootleggers quietly pay police officers to look the other way. Bar owners slip envelopes of cash to local officials. Politicians receive campaign support from people connected to the illegal liquor business. In many parts of the city, raids on speakeasies seem strangely predictable. Sometimes the police arrive hours after a warning has already been given. Sometimes entire operations continue for months without interruption. For ordinary residents, the situation becomes obvious. The law exists on paper, but in practice, enforcement is inconsistent. And the gangs understand this perfectly. Instead of hiding from the system, they begin working around it. Money buys silence. Money buys protection. Money buys time. This network of bribery and influence allows criminal organizations to expand their operations across Chicago. Speakeasies multiply, bootlegging routes become more organized, and the gangs grow richer and more powerful with every passing month. By the middle of the decade, corruption has become one of the most important weapons in the Chicago gang wars. By the middle of the 1920s, Chicago is no longer just dealing with isolated crimes or small criminal groups. The city is experiencing something much larger, a full-scale struggle for control of the illegal alcohol empire created by Prohibition. Every neighborhood becomes valuable territory. Speakeasies need protection. Warehouses store thousands of bottles of smuggled whiskey. Trucks transport alcohol through the streets late at night. And whoever controls these routes controls enormous profits. Rival gangs begin fighting openly for that control. What starts as intimidation quickly turns into organized violence. Gunmen wait outside nightclubs and restaurants for their targets. Cars suddenly appear on quiet streets, windows roll down, and bursts of gunfire echo through the night. Within seconds, the attackers disappear into the darkness. By the time police arrive, the streets are often empty, except for shattered glass and frightened witnesses. The weapons used in these attacks become more powerful. Revolvers are replaced by shotguns and automatic weapons. One weapon becomes especially associated with Chicago's gang wars: the Thompson submachine gun, often called the Tommy gun. Its rapid fire makes it terrifyingly effective during ambushes. Criminal groups also begin organizing their operations more carefully. They establish lookout systems, safe houses for storing weapons, hidden garages for getaway cars. Violence becomes a calculated business strategy, a way to remove rivals and expand territory. Newspapers begin publishing dramatic headlines about the bloodshed. Stories describe gun battles in broad daylight and explosions that destroy entire storefronts. For many residents, the violence becomes part of everyday life. People learn which streets to avoid after dark. Business owners quietly pay protection money to avoid becoming targets. Chicago's reputation spreads across the country. To outsiders, the city begins to look less like an industrial powerhouse and more like a battlefield controlled by competing criminal empires. By the mid-1920s, violence in Chicago is no longer hidden in dark alleys. It spills directly into the streets. Rival gangs begin organizing carefully planned attacks against each other. Cars move slowly through certain neighborhoods with armed men sitting inside, watching entrances to speakeasies, warehouses, and gambling clubs. Everyone understands what those cars mean. A moment later, gunfire erupts. The sound of Thompson submachine guns echoes through the blocks. Windows shatter. People run for cover. Within seconds, the attackers disappear down the street. These sudden ambushes become known as drive-by shootings. Business owners lock their doors earlier than usual. Residents learn which streets are safest to avoid after dark. Taxi drivers refuse to enter certain neighborhoods where gang territory is fiercely protected. Yet the violence is rarely random. Each attack sends a message. A warehouse destroyed means a smuggling route is under new control. A speakeasy shot up means someone refused to pay protection money. A rival gunman killed means another gang is pushing deeper into enemy territory. Newspapers report the shootings almost daily. Headlines describe a city where organized crime groups operate like small private armies. And despite police investigations, arrests rarely reach the powerful leaders who control these operations from behind the scenes. For ordinary citizens, Chicago in 1925 feels tense and unpredictable because at any moment, another burst of gunfire could erupt somewhere in the city. By the middle of the 1920s, Chicago begins to live with a strange contradiction. During the day, the city looks like a powerful symbol of American industry. Workers pour out of factories, streetcars rattle along busy avenues, office buildings fill with clerks, bankers, and businessmen. The city appears modern, productive, and confident. But when evening arrives, another Chicago begins to emerge. Behind ordinary storefronts and quiet apartment doors, the illegal world of Prohibition comes alive. Hidden bars fill with music and smoke. Jazz bands play deep into the night. Bartenders pour whiskey and gin that have been smuggled into the city through complex criminal networks. Outside those doors, cars occasionally slow in dark streets. Gunmen watch rival territories. Because every speakeasy, every shipment of alcohol, and every neighborhood represents profit. And those profits attract competition. Residents begin hearing gunfire more often after dark. Newspapers report assassinations, bombings, and violent disputes between gangs competing for control of Chicago's underground economy. Some neighborhoods become known as dangerous territory. Police patrols increase, yet many citizens believe corruption continues to protect the most powerful criminals. The city still functions. Factories continue producing. Trains continue arriving. But over everything hangs a sense that Chicago is living through a dangerous era, an era where enormous money flows through illegal markets, and where the struggle for control is often settled not in courtrooms, but in the streets. What you've just seen is a historical reconstruction of Chicago during the Prohibition era around 1925, when organized crime and illegal alcohol created one of the most dangerous periods in the city's history. Artificial intelligence now allows us to rebuild lost moments of history and explore the hidden worlds of the past. If you want to see more historical cities and dramatic moments brought back to life through AI reconstruction, subscribe for the next journey into history.